Okay, warm good evening, everyone gathered here.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I am Dr. M. Muvendan from Ayanadar Jani ML College, Sivagasi, Tamil Nadu. Happy to see all the participants and the resource person here. At the outset, I would like to welcome the distinguished resource person for today's afternoon session, a notable speaker, that is Dr. Ritu Sharma, madam. Hearty welcome to you, ma'am. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for accepting our invitation. Ritu, ma'am, can you hear me? Madam has already joined. Okay, once again, I also welcome all the organizing secretaries, Dr. B. Balamairunadan sir, Dr. K. Shankar sir, Dr. V. Sabari Raja sir, Dr. A. Ramat sir, Dr. A. Saravanan sir, and Mrs. R. Sophia Rani madam from Anja College. All the organizing secretaries are heartily welcome. Thank you for joining with us. Dr. Ritu Sharma madam has joined. Madam, hearty good afternoon. Nice to see
Good
you, ma'am.
afternoon, sir. I hope I'm audible to you.
Yeah, madam. Loud and clear, madam. Thank you. Nice. Nice to
Thank
see
you
you.
so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for such an exuberant invitation. I hope I'm audible and visible to each one of you.
Yes,
And first of all, before I start with my session, I would like to congratulate Ayanadar Janaki ML College for organizing this two-day national level conference. Many congratulations to the Dean of the Department, Dr. M. Muvidhan, and the organizing team that has jointly put together this thought and definitely planned to have this intellectual fiesta, and I'm delighted to be part of it. Thank you so much for the invitation. And I hope the session is going to be interesting, and I hope I'm also going to learn a
thank you.
lot from all the listeners who are
Sure,
around here.
sure. Shall we begin the session formally, madam?
Yeah, sure, sir. I just request you to confirm me when the screen is visible.
Yes,
Um,
ma'am, please.
a moment.
Miss Evangeline, madam, please be ready to formally start the session. I also welcome all the participants once again.
I believe the screen is visible to
Now
you,
the
the
screen
shared
is visible,
screen.
madam. Clearly
Thank you.
visible.
Thank you.
It's fine, madam. Thank you. Dear participants, we are going to have an enthralling session today by Dr. Ritu Sharma, madam. So, Miss Evangeline, ma'am, kindly start the session.
Yes. Good afternoon, dear participants. I welcome you all to session 2 of day 1 of a 2-day national level virtual conference on extended boundaries in English language and literature. Behind every great achievement is an individual whose passion, commitment, and wisdom had made it possible. We are fortunate to have Dr. Ritu Sharma, Assistant Professor, Faculty of Humanities, Sarga University, Uzbekistan, amongst us. Ma'am, we are extremely happy to have you with us today. It is an honor to introduce a person whose work has shaped and influenced countless lives. I now invite Ms. T. Novika Ruby of First MA English, Ayanada Janaki Ammal College, to introduce the chief guest.
Thank you so much. I would repeat, I'm delighted and I'm happy to share my input, my approach, my attitude, my scholarly thought with the topic that the conference members have decided that how far and in what way we can witness, we
Madam,
can
sorry to
witness.
interrupt you. Madam, sorry to interrupt. Miss Novika Ruby of First MA English of our college has to formally introduce you to this participants. Please wait. Kindly bear
Okay,
with us. Kindly bear with us. Sorry. Sorry to interrupt you. Please.
that's okay.
Good evening, one and all present here. Language is the roadmap of a culture. It tells you where its people come from and where its people are going. and where they are going. Today, we have the privilege of welcoming a distinguished scholar whose journey in English literature and communication transcends borders, Dr. Ritu Sharma, an erudite academician and assistant professor at Sharda University, is a beacon of knowledge. With a doctorate in English from the Central University of Tamil Nadu, she has established herself as a pioneering researcher whose work intricately weaves together vernacular literature, magical realism, postmodernism, and contemporary literary theory. Her groundbreaking PhD thesis in the beginning was postmodernism, an analysis of the inclusionary vision in the ancient Rajasthani literature. Not only redefines our understanding of ancient narratives, but also bridges the gap between the traditional literature and modern critical perspectives. Dr. Sharma's academic journey is studded with noteworthy achievements. At Amity Institute of English Studies and Research in Noida, where she has served as an assistant professor. She has excelled as a mentor and innovator, guiding students in scholarly writing, developing e-content across multiple disciplines, and even spearheading curriculum development for novel master's programs in liberal studies, including courses on Korean and Russian literature. Her contributions in this role have extended beyond teaching. She has taken on key administrative responsibilities as Deputy Superintendent of Examinations, providing her versatility in both academic and organizational domains. Her scholarly contributions extend far beyond the classroom. Dr. Sharma has published several influential research articles in reputed journals, such as her recent work on Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children through reader response theory and her in-depth analysis of magical realism in Vijayadatta's narratives, both of which are Scopus Index and widely acclaimed. As an accomplished translator, she has beautifully rendered seminal works from Hindi to English, including Beyond the Water and Hormonal Fencing, thereby broadening the reach of Indian literature on a global scale. Notably, her inventive spirit has also led her to secure patents in literary research, testaments to her forward-thinking approach in deconstructing traditional narrative forms. Dr. Sharma's commitment to academia is further reflected in her active participation in national seminars and international conferences, where she has presented papers that challenges conventional paradigms and foster innovative thinking. Her authorship of book chapters and her own published book, Why Not Life, further underscores her profound impact on contemporary literary discourse. In every facet of her career, be it teaching, research, curriculum design, or literary translation, Dr. Ritu Sharma has been consistently demonstrated a passion for fostering knowledge and bridging cultural narratives from local traditions to a global stage. Please join me in welcoming a true trailblazer and an inspiration to us all, Dr. Ritu Sharma. Welcome you, ma'am.
Novika, right? Thank you so much, Novika, for taking me back into this academic journey of mine and for these kind words. I believe I'm all set to start with the presentation. If there's anything, please let me know. All right. So, uh, yeah, in the middle of my conversation, what I wanted to say that this collaborative joint effort by all the members of the conference who have actually, taken a space to think about how far and in what ways we can extend boundaries of English in terms of language and in terms of literature. I have something interesting as my perception, as my interpretation, as my point of view to share with all of you, and also would be inviting your input to throw some more light on it and also to see what more possibilities do we have when we talk about these extended boundaries, when we talk about the cliched term, unfortunately, used for English as English. So let's see how novel and how in the contemporary scenario we can take up the idea of English in terms of literature and language. So I believe to everybody's screen, the title of my today's presentation must be visible, which I'll read to you and I'll also brief you how I have divided this in terms of presentation and in terms of making it easy for each one of you and for each one of us to understand the visit to the concept or to the idea. So the title speaks that ghost of magical realist fiction, challenging decentering the isms. And for this thesis title, I have taken up two texts which are adapted Hindi movies to illustrate and to see how far we can, play with the isms or play with the approach of decentering or play with the boundaries that are set. The study will first focus on the idea of ghost, in order to understand how do we interpret ghost, what does it mean, and how are we looking at these literary ghosts, and in what sense we want to take this idea forward when we talk about literary ghost, which is, I believe, maybe sometimes underrated, or on a very lighter note considered, just to seek, or just to provide aesthetic pleasure in any kind of reading. So that's one thing that will be addressed. Then we will definitely talk about magical realism or magical realism, and the difference between magical realism and magic realism, and its borrowed or adapted term in the fictional world. And then when we talk about decentering, there is definitely something which is center, which is power, which is to be looked at to understand if it can be decentered. So what is that power or centric approach that we need to identify first, and then we will look at how that play is occurring. And to mention, when we use the word play, Derrida, how is that approach appearing over here, and in what extent we can have this kind of celebration of witnessing this kind of play when we talk about any literary ghost or any literary ghost appearing text. So quickly, I'll take you to the first idea as I promised. I believe the shared screen is visible to each one of you, and if you can please confirm it to me so that I can continue.
Yes, ma'am. The screen is
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes,
So when
visual, ma'am.
Thank you, thank you. So what we see here right in front of our screen is something which is disillusioned, something which is uncanny, something which is beyond imagination, right? Because it's not visible, it is not, interactive, it is not something that could be reciprocated in terms of reality that we talk about. So something which we consider canny, which something which we consider real, is beyond the approach that's visible right in front of your screen. When we talk about ghost, or when we talk about literary ghost, I'll precisely mention here as what the idea is. The point over here is that we are talking about something which is at the position of margin, something which is at the position irrespective of any kind of position to be identified, unidentified experience, unidentified community, unidentified subject to be discussed. So what is the major impact of having any kind of literary ghost when we read a text? Probably we look at it with an aesthetic pleasure, probably we fantasize it, probably we unapologetically take it just as pleasure to be part of situated as a reader in it. There is much more that we need to understand. Now any of you might come up with an answer to this, that no, definitely when we talk about literary ghost, it has something to do with the past life, something to do with the existing characters in the fictional world, something which is revengeful, which the character could not could not pursue or could not experience when the character was actual character. To this, there's definitely a definition which I would like to quote. Pardon me for the pronunciation. Lovis Parkinson Zamora, in the critical essay, propounded the essay's magical romance, magical realism, ghost in US and Latin American fiction, where she foregrounds that probably the appearance of or having the practice of producing a fictional ghost in Latin American, history, or American literature, is definitely either that the ghosts carry the burden of tradition and collective memory. The appearance. Why does that comes out. Though we will talk about the history of and the etymology of the term a little later, or probably the ancestral apparitions often act as correctives to the insultries of individuality, as links to lost families and communities, or as reminders of communal crimes, cries, or cruelties. So something that the ghost, which once upon a time was a character, going through or taking a suppressed emotion or an expression, comes out, returns when that journey of that character ends as a ghost in that in that universe, in that world of his or her, if I have to put it under any gender, to take the revenge or to express what one went through, or what one is dealing through, or what one wants somebody to go through. So that's the, I will say, a superficial, if I can use the word, approach when we look at any kind of literary ghost, if you're reading or if you're watching, right? We have something more to say when we talk about literary ghost. They are not mere a pleasure that we discover here. There is something more that we discover, as I use the word margin here. So we are going to see the celebration of these margin under the structure of power, and how it happens, that will be illustrated a little later. I'll take you to the definition of magical realism, precisely magic real. These are two oxymoronic terms which are brought together, and this combination is actually a phenomenon which will be, in the next slide, identified by us, and has a larger approach when we look at any kind of literary text. So some of the quotations are marked here in terms of providing a reference to you to show the relevance that how we are looking at it. So when we talk about magical realism as adapted word, it has a German pronunciation, which is Magister Realismus, and it was a term which was coined by a German art critic, Frank Roh, during 1920s Weimar Republic exhibition. And so the idea over here, when we go through the article of the critique, we discover that he propounded that magical in the essay magical realism post-expressionism, that the post-expressionist paintings of 1920s renewed the delight of real objects. I'll explain this to you. When we talk about post-expressionism, we talk about art, and let's talk about art created, developed, produced post-war. So it was the time which mentions that the paintings were renewed to bring the delight in the real object, wherein later or gradually, when we move from 1920s to 1940s, as the coin comes into a bigger picture, gets prominent during, Central America, in the region of Central America during 1940s, we again discovered that it was Elijah Carpentier, in his critical essay Lo Real Marvelloso Americano, talks about that, and his approach of looking at magical realism is different from European surrealism. To make it clear to all my listeners, so what he has propounded, what he has proposed, is wherein he is redefining fantastic. So, to his sense, in the critical essay, which I will, quote for you as well, he is trying to, propound the definition wherein he says that something which is fantastic is not subverted or transgressed. It has the reality in it, which is not far away from it. So, I will just quickly, quote him wherein he says, he strongly feels that his Americanized term in practice differs from European surrealism, as I told you, that Frank Roh has proposed. So he defines that fantastic is not